Hey, what's up, listener? This is episode 116 of the Jock and Nerd Podcast. If you are a fan of the video game developer Bungie and their amazing titles like Halo and Destiny, you are in for a treat. Joining us on today's show is the game director on Destiny Rise of Iron, Chris Barrett. Chris is an old friend of the nerds, and you're going to get to meet him, hear a little bit about his journey from art school to Bungie, where he's living his dream of working in video games. He was also nice enough to answer a bunch of questions sent in by you, the listener, about Destiny. Thank you for your questions. Check out the show notes, jockandnerd.com/116 for links to everything we talked about in this episode. Ready, player one? Let's grab some XP points and level up. Or something. Is that the lingo? I don't know. It's the Jock and Nerd Podcast with your hosts, Anthony and Imran. Jock and Nerd! Hey, what's up, listener? Welcome to the Jock and Nerd Podcast. My name is Imran.
My name's Anthony.
He's the Jock.
And he's the nerd.
Completing our geek trinity, rounding out the three-man booth, is everybody's favorite internet puppet. Yes, he's a filthy American. You know him, Rug Boy. What's up? Good earth to your rugs.
Good earth to you, Imran and Anthony. And what's up, motherfuckers?
Oh, shit. Great greeting. Live from your basement. I can smell you from here, Rugs. Well done on the odor for tonight.
I douched.
Great. You're really setting the mood because I'm really excited.
French for shower.
I am excited. Is that what that means? I am excited for the show. We have an awesome guest joining us today, listener. Is an amazingly talented friend of mine, Christopher Barrett. Chris is the game director on Destiny Rise of Iron that releases September 20th for PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. Before that, he was the art director for Destiny franchise as a whole. Chris has been working at Bungie for 16 years, and he's worked on amazing award-winning titles in the Myth and Halo Geek Boner series. Little game called Halo. You ever heard of that, Anthony?
Yeah, I think I played it once or twice.
Chris, thanks for being here. How's it going, dude?
It's good. Thanks for having me.
This is the show we were originally supposed to have before Rug Boy tore his back out. Remember that?
Before he's popped some stitches, and there was a whole incident. Rugs
had a prolapsed slack hole.
That's right. He had a prolapsed slack hole. The Felty community, older Felties get this. Like, I don't think you were going to the hospital, Rugs. But look, how I know Chris. He joins the list of people I'm riding the coattails of from Pratt. We went to Pratt together, art school.
Oh, is this the only school that exists in America, according to this podcast?
It is
shit.
the very best.
We were, across the hall, I think. We met on the first day.
Absolutely. He was one of the first day guys, like our buddy Jose and all the other people. And
your roommate, Greg, I believe.
Oh, geez. I hope Greg Tarnoff does not listen. Because, okay, look,
and his girlfriend Magda.
Oh, Magda and Greg, listen, I'm just going to bash this guy for a second.
Oh, wow.
Wait, didn't Greg Turnoff, I think, was his official name?
Yes.
Listen,
unofficial name, maybe.
Greg Tarnoff.
You never bash anybody.
Look, this was freshman year in high school. This guy, I was...
High school?
College.
Okay.
Look, I'm 17 and I'm in New York for the first time, like, on my own. And this is my roommate. He's from, like, the Midwest, yet he brings a snowboard to Brooklyn, New York, all right?
Okay.
There's a snowboard and a skateboard, and I never saw him use either one, but he was really into... I would walk in, he's watching snowboarding videos, and he's talking snowboarding talk. I have no idea. And his parents invented Ready, Set, Spaghetti also.
No shit.
I don't even know what that is.
He's rolling in dough.
That was it was an old board game where you like tie yarn to cranks and
I remember
ready.
that.
Anyways, Greg Tarnoff, I didn't understand why you had a snowboard, but this is not the Greg Tarnoff show.
This is a little bit of a different show than what we're used to.
Yeah, get back on track, Imran.
Yeah,
Sorry,
so
look,
we don't want to hear about your goddamn personal life.
Chris, this is what happens. Everything derails. So let's bring it all back.
That is easier.
That's much easier than what I'm about to put Chris Barrett through. Look, here's the thing. Look, people are going to see the title of this episode, right? And I feel like we're going to get some new listeners, like gamers, right?
Yeah, hardcore gamers.
And so here's the thing they don't know is we're not really hardcore gamers. Chris is an old buddy of mine, so I want to apologize in advance because we may be asking some remedial questions, all right? Just back off.
But this is for the people that aren't hardcore gamers like myself.
Exactly.
So that I can learn.
And for you hardcore people, never worry. We sent it out over the Twitter internet sphere, asked for questions, and we got a whole bunch of questions.
Yeah.
So thanks for sending them in. And we'll get to those questions to get to the hardcore stuff. But Chris, for people like Anthony and some of our listeners, why don't you tell us, what is Destiny?
What is Destiny is a game that was released 18 months ago, I think now. It came out for PlayStation 4, PlayStation 3, Xbox One, 360. And let's see, how do I summarize Destiny? I think we call it a shared world shooter. So it kind of it's an online game, very cooperative. So there's a lot of social aspects to it. You're basically a guardian in this future world of Earth, where you have to you become a guardian and get lots of superpowers and try and save humanity and fight off aliens. You venture around the solar system, get cool weapons, new powers, shoot aliens, get cool pants and shirts and hats, various size and dimension from various origins with cool names. And then you do that with your buddies. I play with my dad all the time.
That's awesome.
He's still playing the game. It's been cool. It's gotten a lot of people excited playing it, and we're continuing to make new expansions, and like the new one coming up soon. So I don't know if that was a good summary.
No, Anthony, you get it?
Yeah, I got it.
It's like a first-person shooter, but you can play it online with your friends, and you have your own character rather than say playing as someone else. You get to play as yourself and be a hero in this world and play with your friends in this shared world.
I mean,
which is sort of unique to Destiny.
I watched a lot of gameplay.
You made me watch a video.
I made Anthony watch, and it's, first of all, Christopher, the game is fucking gorgeous. Oh my god, it's eye candy. The designs, from the armor to the vehicles to the environments. Holy crap, it's great. But I think what made it unique to me, it's like a combination first-person shooter, MMO, and you're like always online. And so you're playing the game, and then there's just like random people running around also while you're playing your mission.
Yeah, I think that'd be a pretty simple way to sort of summarize it. It's like playing a first-person shooter mixed with an MMO. So you have like this persistent online world, a character that you run around in one of the areas on you're running around the moon, and you're fighting some aliens, and 2 to 3 other people will land in their ship and run by and start jumping in and shooting aliens with you, and then you'll wave to each other, do a funny dance, and like collect some pants that fell out of the alien, and then go on your separate ways, or you'll join up and become friends with them, and join their clan and that kind of stuff. So it's kind of a cool that's definitely something unique about Destiny.
Yeah, it's crazy. Ruggs, you played this game.
I don't know how.
I play it all the time.
I don't know how with his fucking hands.
His felty hands. I think he has special controllers.
I can't do a lot of heavy gaming with these hands, but I do get some time in. I'm level 320.
Oh, okay.
Is that
I'm
good?
A Titan, yeah.
Yep.
I got Hard Light. I got Monte Carlo. I got some good shit. I got a couple of good drops. I play all the time. But the thing is, I don't get to play the raids as much. See, the thing is, let me just say a couple things about Destiny so I can give Chris a break. But like, this game is such a great architecture. It's a great skeleton. And it's gonna, when they start doing the next version and adding more stuff, like every few months they add more stuff to it. And the basic skeleton of this game lets you do so much. And so if you're a person like me that doesn't get to play a lot, I'll run in and I'll do all the daily stuff. They have like daily missions for you. And you can log in, and there's like missions for you to do, and you get stuff from those missions sometimes you get coins or whatever. But you have stuff to do every day. And
Wow.
you can play however you want. If you want to play against other people, you can do that. If you want to play against the computer, you can do that. If you want to run missions, you can do that. It has so much stuff that you can do, and you can play it so many different ways. So this game is just revolutionary, in my opinion. And I think that a lot of the newer games are going to start copying this shit, unfortunately. But I think Bungie does it best. I don't think another shooter has come out since Halo as good, and then they beat it with Destiny. So it's like they know how to do this stuff better than anybody else.
Is Destiny part of the Halo universe?
No.
So it's its own thing. Okay.
Yep.
And was it not like the largest video game launch in history for a new franchise?
Yeah, I think that's what the quote is. Yeah.
I would open like $500 million in a day, which is amazing. That's what it says in these articles, and I will post links to the articles.
You did your research.
Dude, I did my research.
One of us had to.
Yeah, one of us had to. But like watching the customization of these things, every little thing, like you said, like. There's dancing in this game. You could do like the moonwalk for no reason. You're just dancing. It's so beautiful. What I always remember about Chris, this is the thing, is I kind of paid attention to Bungie like in the early 2000s, only because I was kind of into gaming then, but I had a Mac, right? And they were one of the few developers that were making video games on the Mac platform. There wasn't a lot aside from that and like The Sims. You didn't really have a lot. So I'm like, oh, Bungie. And then I see Chris is working there, and I always remember Chris, from the day I met him, wanted to work on video games. Like, we just knew that about you. You had the room with the video game console with a Neo Geo.
Yeah.
Did you ever see Chris's bitmaps that he did?
No.
He would do like pixel graphics.
Oh, right, like old school on that PC.
That shit looked professional.
Yeah.
Like 18 years old. He looked like he was already designing games at that time. So he already knew what the fuck he wanted to do from the get go.
Dude,
Actually, when I got to Bungie, I hadn't done 3D, I hadn't done any of that. I hadn't made like any game content. So I basically did 2D concepts from school, and I did a lot of pixel art and stuff like that. So
wow, so
that was kind of my into Bungie.
You came in 2D. That's amazing, and that's what I wanted to ask you is. Look, you were an illustration major with us, right? We didn't have a video game thing at Pratt.
I think they were just starting like the computer graphics track and stuff at Pratt.
I mean, you had to go there. Nobody had computers. You had to go to the lab. And I always felt like, I don't know if you agree with me, I felt like we went to college in a weird digital divide. Because by the time we were done with school, they were still teaching us about cold calls, walking in a physical portfolio, printing out things, mailing it. And, we get done with school, you get out into real life, everybody's hiring web designers. And I'm like,
exactly.
Oh, shit, what the fuck is this? This came out of nowhere. There was and like, the minute
Which
we
is
leave.
exactly what I did with my illustration degree the second out of college. I was like, I'm going to go do web design.
Well, yeah, a lot of people got caught in that whole thing.
Right?
Yeah.
But you were the video game guy. How did you, how did you use this illustration 2D background to get you to Bungie?
Sure. Well, let's see. So just to go back a little bit,
Yeah.
so I had always, knew I wanted to do games, like you said, and I knew a lot about computers, like that. I fiddled with computers, had computers growing up, so I kind of knew that side of it. So the thing I didn't, the thing I really wanted to advance was like knowing about art and like, going into art. And so I knew that would be kind of my into video games. So that's why, for example, I went to Pratt. Like I just wanted to learn about drawing and, fine art and learn as much as I could about aesthetics and color theory and all that stuff. So actually looking back, that was probably the best thing that I could have done as opposed to going straight into like trying to model 3D stuff and, right away. I think, those courses like that are now really good for that. They kind of give you a whole breadth of stuff. But
that's a solid foundation. Like every artist needs that you start from there.
Yep.
And then you know how to break the rules.
Yeah, exactly. And I think actually illustration and communication design specifically, I guess, was like, I guess that's what our degree was, right? Communication design.
Yeah,
and illustration, so.
Communication.
Imran doesn't remember.
I would say illustration because, like, what the fuck is communications design? Really?
Yeah, but I mean, in some ways that was good because it was like learning how to like solve problems, right? Like solve visual problems, solve like, whether it's, communicating, what a book cover needed to be or a specific, product or an illustration. Like, an illustration is all about communication. And so that was perfect for, getting into games and all the wacky problems you have to solve trying to, build stuff like that.
I always loved your art style too. It was playful and dark and like grotesquely beautiful. Ruggs, you remember Chris's illustrations?
Absolutely.
How would you describe them?
They were kind of like elongated.
They're weird.
Yeah.
I mean, he had some stuff that he posted recently. I think you had dug up some old stuff and I remember looking at that stuff and I'm going, hey, I remember that.
Yeah.
Like, I actually have some sketches of yours in my sketchbooks.
Oh, really?
Yeah, there's some weird ones in there. But he always had like a Frazetta.
Yeah. Frazetta meets like Dave McKeon, meets like Tim Burton. Who are some of your influences? We're putting artists in your mouth now. Chris, who are some of your actual...
Excuse me?
Put those artists in your mouth. Who are some of your influences while you're at Pratt developing, your illustration style?
Oh boy, I don't know. I mean, obviously some of those references you mentioned, like, I was always into Kent Williams. Is that his name? Yeah. And, Dave McKeon, obviously. And, all that stuff I think was awesome. Anything that kind of pushed the weirder, more, experimental stuff I always, liked a lot in graphic novels and stuff. I think I was very much introduced in illustration class to like Egon Schiele or Schiele, or however you pronounce that guy's name. Yep. But I mean, that totally influenced like, my style going forward once Passalacqua, David Passalacqua.
Yeah. We had, and then I had Salvatore, little Italian guy, Montano, I think his name was. The man knew the name of every muscle in the body. It was unbelievable. Like he could have been a doctor.
That comes in handy when you're drawing figures for sure.
Yep. Yeah, but Egon Schiele's kind of contour drawings, and they're also kind of like grotesquely very real,
Yep. So I mean, yeah, definitely. Just looking at all that stuff. I mean, just being introduced to I didn't know. I was a kid from Vermont. I didn't have any understanding of fine arts or anything. Yeah. So just getting inundated with all that stuff was great. Like learning about. I mean, half the shit I learned from comics and stuff was from you guys who were like huge comic nerds.
Right on, yeah.
No kidding. Imran a nerd back then.
He was the video game nerd. We were the comic book nerds. And you also contributed to like the one edition of the Pratt Institute comic book, Static Fish. I believe you did that awesome logo of that badass actual Static Fish that we used.
Oh yeah, I still have copies of that laying around.
Super insider.
I completely botched that thing, and it came out with a black and white cover instead of color. Anyways, look, so you get out of Pratt with this solid 2D illustration style. What happens next? What's your path?
So yeah, I'm doing web design. So I'm doing that and sort of learning graphic design and whatnot, which was cool. But I think, let's see, I started, I had a Mac too, because everybody had a Mac, like, if you were doing graphic design or art in school, that was the computer to get. So, picked up Photoshop and started learning that stuff. But let's see, a game came out, like I was just playing, whatever. I had AOL, I think at the time. It was online and was to put some age to me. And had heard about this game called Myth, not to be mistaken with Myst. Yes. But it's a game called Myth, MYTH.
It's not Myst where you just walk around and look at shit and nothing really happens.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and not that one.
And you probably are familiar. Marathon was a game on the Mac, right? Which is like a shooter that was popular that Bungie worked on. But anyway, they were coming out with this new game, and I saw videos of it, and it was basically this fantasy game it's kind of like a RTS, kind of like Warcraft or whatever. But it was like, anyway, I saw the videos for this game, and I thought it was amazing, so I was following it. And I started playing this game, online game, and I was like obsessive with it. Like I would just play all night, like all the time. And so I started looking into how to modify it. And so I started making, hacking into it and like using like hexadecimal editors to like backwards hack their reverse engine, their maps and stuff, and doing all this research online about how people were looking into how to modify the game.
Modding. Is that modding?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Modding. So, but this was like before there weren't any tools to do it.
Early
so you had
modding.
to, go into the code and basically change numbers and hack stuff, and they started making tools and stuff. So the fan community started releasing tools. So anyway, I started making mods for this game Myth. And then that was sort of how I got introduced to Bungie and started playing the games all the time and whatnot. And so I formed a map making group called Badlands, which was when we released a bunch of multiplayer maps and mods for this game Myth. And then that kind of led to being introduced to some of the people who worked at Bungie. And then let's see, what's the whole story? I ended up applying for a web design job. So that was actually going into web design got my foot in the door
at Bungie.
And so I flew out there. I got because they saw I did maps and they saw some of my graphic design work, and I applied for a web design position at Bungie, and I flew out there, and it didn't work out. I didn't get I didn't end up taking that job, but that kind of got my foot in the door. And then sort of the rest is got that connection and ended up, staying in communication with them, and then ended up getting a job offer from them to pick up and fly out to Chicago.
That's awesome. That's right. Wait, so at the time, where were they located?
They were in Chicago.
They were in Chicago. Okay.
Yeah, I was still in Brooklyn, and so they were in Chicago. I forget the name of the street. It's been a while, but
and so I think that's because I remember he was here and we hung out. You were here for a summer.
Yeah, it was maybe 10 months or so.
You hung out with Imran? Lame.
That's the last time I actually talked to Chris. I think this is again another example of me being a shitty friend. Oh shit! That's the last time, and that was early 2000s. Bungie's been around for 25 years now. That's pretty crazy.
You only talk to him when he becomes successful, huh?
Dude, Chris. We were talking before. Chris reminded me that when the last time I saw him, I was working at the balloon store.
That's my memory of Ron. I was like, "What are you up to?" He's like, "I'm working at a balloon store." I was like, "Oh, that illustration degree is really."
It's paying off in spades.
What were you doing at a balloon store? Were you literally blowing putting helium into balloons?
Yeah,
what were you doing?
It was a balloon delivery and decorating service. We did. Let me tell you, I can make an amazing centerpiece or balloon arch for your wedding and or bar mitzvah. Hire me out, people. I still have the skills.
Were you making balloon
No.
dogs?
It wasn't fucking balloon animals. No, it's you send balloons to somebody's birthday.
I'm so happy that I was reminded of this, by the way.
Let me tell you.
We had forgotten about it now. Oh my God, it's fresh in my memory.
2 quick observations. Delivering balloons to people's birthdays for birthdays. First of all, it's the only delivery job where no one is ever mad to see you. You're never late.
But even you, though? Look, your face?
Oh, absolutely.
Really?
Me even more. I didn't have to wear a costume. But since you don't know it's coming, everyone's like, hey, oh my God. The other thing is, if you need to get into any secure building past security, just fucking walk in with a bag of balloons. You have no idea the amount of high-rise buildings that just let me in. I would get to the door and the lady's like, what the fuck? How'd you get up here? I'm like, nobody even called me. And I was like, balloons.
Got balloons. Nice.
Tips for life from the Jock and Nerd podcast.
I've learned something new about you.
Yes. So then, you were in Chicago, and then very quickly, what happened? You moved out west.
Yeah, right. So we ended up joining Microsoft when we were working on Halo. So before Halo had come out, we had been working on. We had a build, but we had a prototype of it and whatnot, and we had announced it. I think at East on I don't know, it was Macworld or something. I think was the big unveiling of it, and if my memory serves me right, somebody's going to fact check this and go call it out on Twitter. But I believe it was Jason Jones got up on stage at Macworld following Steve Jobs and basically announced Halo or whatever was coming out. So that was the kind of premiere of it. And then shortly after that, Microsoft ended up contacting us or whatever.
Wow.
Nice.
It was Halo to Microsoft. Boom. We're at the compound. Right on.
So then that was right before the launch of Xbox, the original Xbox. So Halo ended up being a launch title for Xbox, and so we, worked on that. They moved us out to Redmond, Washington.
Yes,
and,
that's it.
Yep. And so we were busy working on that. And then, that came out, and the rest of Halo's kind of history from there. But
I tell you what, Halo's a game I have actually played. Anthony, you played the Halo?
I've played Halo a few times, more than a few times. I am awful at Halo.
I mean, it's
but my friends in college would play. We would set up we would have multiple TVs and get multiple controllers and play Halo all night. Have drinking games on Halo.
Dude, it was the game that just made shooting, stabbing, and throwing grenades just second nature.
Oh yeah.
I gotta tell Chris something.
All right, Rugs, do it.
Okay. Do you remember Scott Weinstein? He's now a producer for Saturday Night Live.
I do remember him.
Yeah, he's been on the show.
When he got married, he wanted to have a bachelor party, but he didn't want strippers. And what he wanted to do is he wanted to play Halo, 4-player against 4 players.
Of course he did.
So they rented out a hotel room that had 2 plasma screens, and we all brought our consoles so we could get this going. That was his bachelor party dream.
Wow.
Just know that.
Why couldn't you also have strippers? That's my question.
Yeah, you could do
easily
both.
mix
I
in.
think it was actually better than strippers.
Well, because you can have strippers and you can have cocaine.
Yes.
So it's not like they're mutually exclusive. You can do both at the same time.
I suppose not. It's a lot cheaper without the strippers, though, I guess.
Well, if you eliminate the cocaine and add Halo, I think it's still cheaper.
I'll make it rain on the
Much
Halo.
more fun.
So, you worked on all the Halo games, Chris?
Yeah, I didn't do. I had started actually working on Destiny when Halo Reach was being worked on, so I didn't work on that, but all the ones before that. So I worked on Halo 1. I did a lot of multiplayer. I did environment art. So I worked on some of the campaign missions and stuff. So world art basically, and then kind of graduated. Each release did a little bit different stuff for. Whatnot, but
this is probably one of the only questions I'll have because I don't know much of what we're talking about. But I know that Halo blows up. So how does it feel when Halo blows up and you've had a big part in working on a game that everyone's fucking playing?
I mean, it was incredible. I mean, it's so cool to
And was that anticipated?
You know what? I think even from the first day, when I played the first build of it, before it had come out, before there was a big thing, I basically was shown a demo where you could run around in third person. It was third person at the time.
Weird.
And you could basically you run around this landscape, this alien landscape with a gun, and you were able to jump in the Warthog, and they had the whole Warthog working and the physics and everything, and you could just jump in and tool around this island.
Yeah.
And the attention to detail of the physics and the sky and the world, and they had there was rubble just kicking out from under the Warthog, and it just felt so good to drive it.
Yeah.
I knew. I mean, that was what basically convinced me to go take the leap and move cross country and go join Bungie. It was such an incredible. I knew that something special, was there. But as far as how well the world would receive it, whether we'd actually finish it, whether we'd be able to, make a complete game out of it and how the world would receive it. We had no idea if the Xbox was going to do really well or not at that time.
It's a new gaming system.
Yeah. So it just so happened that, being on that new platform, the new gaming system, it all kind of was like this perfect storm. It was incredible. I don't think I ever, at the time had no idea, just didn't process it, what was really happening.
Right.
It was millions of people playing this thing you worked on. But it was incredible to have, to go from, sweating away on this game with a bunch of, game developers, no idea if it's going to, turn out or not. And then have a year later, Justin Timberlake's walking through the hallway, wanting to know what you're working on or whatever.
Wow.
Weird celebrities show up.
Yeah.
Xbox became like if you had an Xbox, you had Halo. It was synonymous with each other. They were the same. You had to have Halo.
Dude,
if you bought an Xbox.
Bungie was like rock stars for a good bit there. I mean, you guys still are, but it was just such a
it was
new
almost
thing.
like Nintendo and you had to have a Mario game. Xbox, you had to have a Halo.
Oh yeah, I think that's why I bought the Xbox was specifically to play Halo 2.
That's what I did.
Yeah.
So I started buying all the Microsoft consoles. And then I asked Chris, I'm like, hey, what's the deal with Destiny? He's like, get a PS4. And I'm like, what?
Oh, no. That game, yeah, but that game sold a lot of Xboxes, and it's a big risk, Microsoft, to take a chance on you guys and this new system, and they just blew it out of the water, man. Let's just get to Destiny, man. Everyone's listening to the show.
Everyone's into Destiny.
And here's the thing: like I said, we got a lot of questions. I will get to the questions, but this is my question. Right away, like your titles for Destiny, where you have art director, but then on this expansion, Destiny Rise of Iron, you are game director. Mm-hmm. What is the difference there?
Good question.
With Destiny, it was all about the original release was all about the art. So like working with the concept artists, working with the modelers and the 3D and the world artists and stuff like that. It was all about what the game looked like. That was just purely the art side of it. And so starting with House of Wolves, which was one of the expansions that came out last year, I got the opportunity to help work on some of the design, the creative direction, stuff like that. So that involved more planning and working on working with all the different teams. So not just the art team, but the story team and the design team. And I have to talk a lot more to the producers and worry about whether we're going to get it done on time and stuff like that. So
wow, that's more responsibility. Yeah, it's another level up of the umbrella from art director.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, just being able to sort of, dip my hands in it, work with these different disciplines like the story and with design and help all of that come together to form sort of a coherent theme. I think, it was, a great opportunity. And so
is Rise of Iron really your baby, even more than the whole Destiny overall?
They all, I care about all of them.
He loves all his children equally.
Way. Yeah, I love it's, I worked on Destiny for, I don't even know, 6-7 years or something before it even came out.
Wow, yeah. Damn.
So I think...
Is that typical to work on a game for that long before it comes out?
I don't think no. I mean, it depends. All games are different. Like there are some game companies who have worked on games that long for sure, but there are some that are really depends. Some are some games come out in 2 months. Some games typically games are I think usually 2-ish years or so, but it really depends on the studio and whatnot. But I mean, Destiny was something brand new. It was a brand new engine. It was a brand new world. It was, it was from scratch.
Jesus, built from scratch. The thing, it's fucking gorgeous and it's amazing. This world. Before we get to, I'm going to kind of have the questions guide us through this conversation. But Did you do any 2D art in either of these roles?
I did a lot of concept art. In the get-go, in the original, it was just a couple of us in a room. It was me and the game director at the time, Jason Jones, who's the founder. Yeah. One of the art directors at Bungie, he worked on Halo as well. His name's Shikai Wang, and he's one guy who designed the original Covenant for Halo.
Oh, wow.
The alien race. And so it was just a couple of us in a room, and we were basically just doing a lot of drawing, a lot of talking, a lot of iterations. So yeah, I did a lot. I mean, I ended up, letting some of the more talented artists do, a lot of the concept work you see in the Art of Destiny and whatnot. Those guys are great painters and great illustrators. I ended up mostly did a lot of the sketches of stuff, ideas and some of the early ideas of some of the enemy races and stuff like that. So there's some. I mean, there's some of my pieces are in the book and whatnot.
That's awesome. I think that's the more fun stuff because you're just anything goes. You let your imagination go wild.
Yeah. Now, has your style changed at all? Because you were doing this kind of elongated, exaggerated stuff, and now you have to kind of reel it in for the game. Did your style change, or were you just more? I don't know. I haven't seen some of this stuff, so
I think getting I can see you guys laughing at Rug Boy.
No.
I'm laughing at Imran because he just started choking on his fucking vape.
I have a tend to choke my own self out because I'm a fucking asshole sometimes.
If he doesn't talk, he chokes. So that's why I've been trying to break into this thing 50 times, but he just never breathed.
Okay, let's see. So, my style changed, right? So. Let's see. Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, even the process of learning, to do 3D modeling. So I actually did a lot of 3D modeling working on the Halo franchise. So I worked on, having to build, buildings and canyons and terrain and stuff like that. And
what program? What were you using back then?
3D Studio Max.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, it was the I guess it got bought by somebody else at this point. But I don't dip into the 3D too much anymore. But like having to learn how to model stuff in 3D, you get a better sense of like how to build realistic proportioned things, and you kind of get a sense of volume and space. So that was actually a really good process for me learning, kind of advance my style. And so, yeah, I think, I still bring in a lot of that sort of 2D graphic elements when I'm, drawing a figure or a character or an illustration, but I kind of had to understand how to turn something. You have to draw something that can actually be turned into a game object or a game model or a character. So I had to worry more about real like what are the proportions I really want to show off, for example, when it has to get translated into a real character in the game. So I think there's still some exaggeration in my drawings, but
probably less so now to make it work. As a thing.
Exactly.
Huh. Right on. Yeah, the 3D modeling is crazy, man. I've seen people working like ZBrush and Cinema 4D, and it's just there's too many buttons and palettes and fucking views.
I think if you just open up any 3D modeling program, it's pretty intimidating. Like it's just a million buttons.
Yeah, lots of polygons. So let's get to some questions. I was on a video game podcast last week. Last Minute fell in, called The Weekly Jump, and I pimped the show there, and we got some questions from their hosts.
Who actually play a lot of video games.
Who they know this game. So we'll start with the kind of general questions, and then we have a really geeky email from someone. But here's the first question from Matt Delhauer.
I know you were asking us to give you questions, so I decided the one that I'm going to give you right here, right now, top of my head, and the listeners get to hope that you ask it, is how much were they aiming to try and not be as much like Halo?
That's a good one.
When they made Destiny.
Wow. Okay,
that's a good question because
I think it was always on our mind, of course, right? I mean, like we wanted to make something new and different, so it was something we always talked about, like how but we also didn't want to lose what we did really well, right? Which was make a great shooter, and with immersive gameplay, and like the gunplay felt really good. All that. So we wanted to make sure to keep that. I think also just the fact that the same people who made Halo made Destiny, like a lot of those influences are still going to be there, right? The stuff we liked then is, more or less the stuff we liked when we made Destiny. But
I like that. It's like bands. It's like musicians. Like their stuff sounds similar because that's what they like. That's their style. Mm-hmm. And with Destiny, you still have the awesome running and gunning and the stabbing and the throwing, but then you add all these other crazy elements to just enrich it and make it better.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, Jason was he was the founder of the company. He worked on basically, all the games. He's the one who, worked on, Marathon and Myth and Halo and stuff. And he was, from the get-go working on Destiny. So that core, the core Bungie game, the stuff that, people know and love from Bungie games was there because he worked on it. And then as far as the creating a new world and new characters and a new style and stuff like that, I think that was just that fresh start, like, okay, let's like get a bunch of influences. And so we were pulling out, very different references, more, purposely trying to bring in more Eastern influence and like anime references and more surrealistic artists and stuff like that, because we wanted to build this more, wondrous world that was kind of a mixture of fantasy and sci-fi, even more so than Halo ever was. Halo was very sort of hard sci-fi.
Yeah.
And we knew we wanted to kind of mix those genres up a little more. So we definitely had more fantasy elements and stuff when we were doing reference gathering and whatnot.
I mean, it's like you see influences of Star Wars and Game of Thrones, Lord of the Rings, Dune. It's like everything mashed together in a really awesome, fun new way.
I have a follow-up to that.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Is there anything that like got, cut out or left to the side that was crazy that you guys are bringing back? Or because I know in the development process, you have all these things and you're throwing all these things at the wall to see if they stick, or saying, okay, this probably not right now, but maybe later. So is there anything from those design stages that you're bringing back, or you're going to kind of, that you always wanted to do, but it never got a chance to do, but now you get the chance to do it?
Good question.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, during the initial concept period when we were just brainstorming, coming up with ideas, anything we could, anything we dream of, it's easy then because it's all on paper, it's what, drawings and ideas. And so we came up with way more than we could possibly, put into, the game. So there's this wellspring of ideas still. I have a notebook filled with hundreds and hundreds of pages of just cool, ideas and stuff that I look at those all the time. Like when I'm trying to think up a, new character or kind of think of a new place to go in the game. Yeah, there's tons of stuff from, all along the way that we've dreamed up or want to do. So,
now, do you think you're going to get to touch on any of that stuff, or is that all just going to kind of be in the back burner?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think even the releases we've done since then, for example, House of Wolves, which is one of the expansions that came out, like just the whole idea of the reef and the backstory of the Fallen, and a lot of that stuff comes from ideas that we had on the table, back in the day. And so we kind of go to those inspirations all the time when we're thinking of a new release. And, Rise of Iron, for example, is, not to get too into details, but it tells the story of this thing called, the Iron Banner tournament is something that's been in the game for, since launch. And there are all these characters that we came up with, in words and names of the weapons and this lore that we kind of only hinted at. And so that's an example where we're going back to one of those original ideas and sort of fleshing it out further and sort of telling the whole backstory of the Iron Lords and whatnot. So yeah, all the time. The answer, without being too specific, all the time. Like there's a ton of ideas and concept art even that, we're excited to use in future releases for sure.
When you play the game, you actually feel like there's so much more there that's just waiting to be uncovered. So it's great to know that stuff is actually there. Mm-hmm. Somewhere in the developmental process, it's there. It's just waiting to come out. We're all gonna see Lord Saladin and what's going on with him, and find out some of the lore behind these weapons. Just you saying that it's so great.
Cool. Yeah. One of the things that we've started to do at Bungie, we have our own Twitch studio now.
Oh, nice.
And one of the things that we've been doing is we do these developer ride-alongs, we call them. And so, for example, we take, there's an area of the game called the Cosmodrome, for example, and there's a bunch of artists and designers and stuff who worked on that destination. And so what we do is we have them, we have someone join them and one of the fans, and we walk through the destination and just walk around and explore it. And the artists who built it talk about the whole history of it in a way that you don't see necessarily in the game, but you get sort of an inside glance as to why those elements exist in the game and all the silent storytelling we're doing and what the artists were thinking about and what the concepts we're trying to convey. So those are, if people listening, if they're ever interested in that, there's some, then go on the Bungie Twitch streams and check that out. It's pretty cool to kind of hear the backstory of what all those places are.
I found one of those when I was doing research, and I watched one, and it was really awesome to see the insight from the developer. I'll put a link in the show notes for the listener. One question I had is this is the model of the game is you put the game out, but now it's a living world. You'll be putting out expansion packs, growing it. I like how you're kind of doing a year 1, year 2 type of thing. Mm-hmm. How frustrating must it be to put out the first part of the game knowing that there's so much more coming, but fans are we need more, that's not enough. And you're oh, you have no idea what we have in store.
So just the idea of
so what was the question, Imran?
Basically, because from what I read,
fuck were you just
here's
asking?
the thing. I was trying to ask in a nice way. What I read was when this game came out, people loved it, but then they quickly kind of fell out of love with it because they felt there should be more, and then they come out with the Taken King expansion, and now everyone's back on. They're oh my god, this is the best game ever. You gotta.
I think people's expectations are too crazy. That's the thing. I think that when I played the game, I was just you can do this, and you can do this, and you can do that. And I was just holy crap, it never ends, how much stuff you can do. But, I'm not a super nerd gamer. I just I play Halo. I play, some RPG games. I play some BioShock and this and that, and Mass Effect, and these type of games. So this is all in my wheelhouse. This is all shit that I like. And I didn't have a big criticism of it. I was just okay, this is cool. I'm down with this game. But when I saw that there was that reaction, I wasn't on board with that. I was just like, this is fanboy shit. And to be fair, as negative as some of the fan stuff is, there's so much positivity with the fan stuff. I mean, I just saw like a couple of days ago that someone in Minecraft recreated the entire fucking Destiny world.
Whoa.
I mean, there's fucking crazy ass fans
That's
doing
a lot
shit. I mean, you
of work.
don't do that unless you love the game. Yeah. I mean, there's countless videos on YouTube on everything about Destiny. There's the fandoms out there, and there's people using the game. So I think that when we talk about stuff, when we react to shit, we overreact a lot of the time. So
I also know that Bungie is known for listening to their fans, and you guys, that's very important to you guys.
Yeah, I mean, I see it in a couple different ways. One is absolutely. I mean, it had a lot of anticipation. People were very excited for the game. Like there were a lot of trailers, there was a lot of marketing, like there was a lot of hype around the game. And so, I don't think, could have ever lived up to the all the fans' expectations. So, but on top of that, I think that people wanted more content and that they wanted to continue playing more than is sort of a
that's a good sign.
Itself. So it's that people are hungry for more content, and so that's great to have. But like you said, we're always listening to players' feedback, and we're very active in the community trying to adjust the game as it goes. And with each release, we're sort of slowly adding more. And one of the big criticisms of the game, originally was the story, for example. And we know that as well. Like we wanted to try and as we did with Taken King, try and build a better story, do better cinematics, make something that feels better. And we're continuing to it's an ongoing process. With each release, we're trying to make it a little bit better, add the things that the fans like, and
right on. You hear that, gamers?
Yeah. I like that Chris Barrett answered that question well, because you are like Larry King now, and you're like asking the hard hitting questions like right off the bat. Like, what do you think about this criticism?
Look, it was out there. Look, I'm going to segue back.
I've heard a lot of.
Chris knows. So Chris, he's not a fucking newbie.
No, I know. I'm just surprised you've become the hard hitting question guy now.
This is like the McLaughlin group. Issue 3. Let me tell you something. Okay, look. Speaking of listening to
fan questions,
listen to fans.
We have very passionate fans.
Oh, I found that out. Here's another listener question from another guy from the Weekly Dump, Christopher Nagy. Here's his question. Chris, you got a question about Destiny you would want to ask the game director?
And you can't put nearly as much salt on it, Chris.
Well, I was going to control myself, but now that you've tempted me with that. No, actually, my question I would ask him is, where the hell is the Cabal expansion?
Okay.
Where? Like, the Cabal is a really cool race, and it's just like, I need some more stuff on him. But, other than that, I could probably get into some other way more questions of just how many nights will you just sleep in during development and you woke up like, I need to make this now? Just how many nights has he gone through that?
The Cabal question came up a couple of times, actually.
Okay. Yeah, so there was a second part of that question. How many nights I slept?
Yes.
About Destiny. You'll have to interpret that one for me. But the first part, the Cabal are awesome. I mean, I love the Cabal.
So who are there's a bunch of races in this game, and it's like what I noticed while you're playing, there's like alien wars going on between other races. Sometimes you let them kill each other. Sometimes you kill everybody and jump in. Sometimes you just walk around it and be like, I don't know what's going on over there. So, but who are all the races?
So you've got the Fallen, who are basically spider pirates. They have different. They're like roving space pirates, I guess. They're kind of. How do you describe? Yeah. So there's this spider pirates. There's the Vex, who are time traveling robots.
Cool.
There are the Cabal, which are big hulking kind of. Empire crushing or solar system crushing military group with big spaceships and big guns.
They sound awesome.
They kind of look like evil rhinoceros guys underneath their masks.
They got a lot of fans, let me tell you. People love the Cabal.
Obviously, they're looking for the Cabal expansion.
Yeah.
Right. And then what am I missing? The Hive, which are the sort of undead. They travel in giant tomb ships from beyond and live forever. So there's sort of our undead zombie kind of race. So those are kind of the and then there's the Taken, which we introduced in the Taken King, which are sort of these strange dimensional beings that are being controlled by darkness. And so, yeah, there's a bunch of different races. Cabal, one of them. We've got a lot of future Destiny coming up, and I think, I would love to see an expansion or a release, focus on the Cabal. I think they have a great backstory, and I love the look of them. So I would, I think you can imagine we would see that sometime in the future.
All right.
But there's a lot of stories.
Good.
Yeah, there's a lot of stories. There's a lot of things to explore in the Destiny world. That was one of the original goals of when we built Destiny originally. It was like just build as much cool shit as we can. Build this world that we can tell a bunch of different stories. We can have a bunch of different adventures in. So yeah, a Cabal theme release would be awesome. I'd love to see that.
Right on. Let's continue with. We're gonna go to Twitter. We got Matt Delhauer also sent us a question from his buddy Dave Holden. And there's two that kind of relate. He asked, what did you take from history and art as inspiration? And then Peyton Radford is kind of the same question. Any historical fantasy art motifs you'd like to see adapted into the Destiny universe via armor, locales, etc.?
Mm-hmm. Let's see. So, I'm trying to think.
There's a lot of crazy stuff. There was a Egyptian motif to some of the armor. Mm-hmm. You guys are covering all the bases pretty much.
Yeah, there's we go to the well for everything. We look to fine art, we look to different cultures, to even some of the races. Like we pull from sort of historical stuff. You'll see a lot of words and like names of stuff that pull from a lot of different history. You'll see like Sumerian words, and you'll see Egyptian stuff. You'll see, Japanese, warship names, and like just all kinds of like different references there that we pull from. For sure. I think, the Trials of Osiris is this multiplayer sort of a crucible, very competitive game mode that we have, and all of the armor for it is themed sort of this Egyptian theme. We're coming out with a new one for the Rise of Iron that kind of you can have cat ears and have a cat pauldron, which is pretty cool on the hunter. But even the Rise of Iron, the new armor we're introducing with that, has a Scandinavian kind of feels like kind of Viking or sort of fantasy sort of Norse theme to it. So we're always pulling from those references.
Is there any chance that they're going to get into a superhero theme? Like there's going to be a Batman mask or something?
Oh,
like a Batman cape.
Hey, that's a good question. We are the comic book guys here.
I don't imagine we'll have a Batman suit of armor anytime soon. Although who knows? Down the road. But
remember that game? What the one with the sword, Soul Calibur?
Oh yeah.
They had the character generator, right? Mm-hmm. Every character I made comic book characters. I made like a Batman guy. I made a Spider. It was crazy.
Yeah. You might be able to probably find a red and blue shader in the game to kind of make yourself look a little Spider-Man-y, but I'm not sure about it.
You could do red and blue.
It was a tough call.
Yeah.
The customization on this thing is so crazy. You
can wear capes. You can wear a cape, right?
Absolutely.
And that's one thing. Yeah. How many shooters have capes? Although there's a few nowadays that do, but we revolutionized the shooter with a cape, I think.
Yeah, you were the first ones, definitely.
Okay, we got Anthony's going to read the next Twitter question.
Yeah, because otherwise I'm just not going to talk.
Yeah. You got to contribute something, motherfucker.
Yeah, I know. I'm trying.
This guy, any sports questions for me? We can talk about that.
Nah. That no one that's listening is going to want to listen to sports shit right now.
Okay, all right.
This guy, 0 point? Is that how you're going to say?
0 point. He asked a lot of questions.
Like 18
Thank you.
Questions,
We're going to pick one or two, dude.
Yeah, we'll pick a couple. Here's one. Will there be more live action trailers? Question mark.
Will there be more? It's a good question. I don't know. That's something that with each release, there was one that we released with Destiny, and I think there was another one, with The Taken King, where it had sort of live action mixed with CG, and I think Led Zeppelin playing on both of them.
Now that you're the game director,
those were awesome, by the way.
Since you're the game director, what's your role in these trailers? This isn't his question. This is my question.
Yes, I talked to the marketing team, and there's a whole team, that just focuses on advertising the commercials and print ads and all that stuff. And so, there's a team who works on that. My main goal really is just to build the best game I can, and then we have a team who works on the the commercials and the marketing and stuff like that.
So, but do you have any input on any of that?
Yeah, I mean, I see this stuff. I get feedback. I want to always make sure that the commercials are as accurate and stuff as they can be. And they have a lot of great questions usually when they're building that stuff about how the what abilities the characters use or the environments. And so we work with them to make sure that as they translate it into a into a CG piece or a commercial or whatever, that it reflects the game as cool as as closely as possible.
Well, I gotta agree with Ruggs. Those were awesome. Have you seen those? I remember when those came out, I was like, is this a fucking new show on Netflix? What is this? This looks amazing, and I want to watch it right now. So well done. Like, I really I don't even think I knew that it was like a video game. I was like, what was that? That was really cool.
Cool.
Yeah, so it worked. Common Shark at Common Shark Prod on Twitter asks, what are the biggest incentives for players to come back to the game for Rise of Iron?
Ooh, good question.
Well, there's a lot of new shit to do. So, I mean, that's one of the things that fans have been, wanting is just give us more stuff, give us more stuff to play. So there's a brand new raid, which is awesome. It's Fallen themed.
Explain the raid, because Ruggs loves the raid. I watched some videos. There's some record-breaking things happening with the raids.
Right. Yeah. So basically, it's a super, it's a hardcore kind of activity. Basically, you bring in 6 players. And one of the things that's cool about it is we actually don't release any information, like very much information prior to the raid being released. And so it's basically a mission, that you go on with 6 players, and it's got a lot of puzzles, and it's got huge bosses, and it's got a lot of stuff that players have to figure out as they go. So it's this challenge that takes a lot of coordination and communication. And so, there are other games that have done raids before. And so you might have heard of that in something like World of Warcraft or whatever,
right.
But there are big bosses, and there's, it takes a lot of communication. Like one person has to stand somewhere, and then the other person has to shoot these things, and another person has to grab a weapon and go do another task, and they have to coordinate all this, or else they all die. And so
cool.
It's a pretty intense. But it also has a lot of lore and a lot of storytelling, and you get to explore this place for the first time when they come out, and no one's ever seen it before. So it's one of the things you get all these groups on Twitch, for example, live streaming as they go in the first time and trying to figure out how to solve it. And one of the things we do at Bungie is we all when we first release it, we have it up on big screens in the kitchen and in the studio, and everybody's streaming it from the desk, watching all these players sort of delve into it for the first time and trying to figure out all the hidden puzzles and find all the secrets and whatnot. And so, yeah, there's people rush to be the world's first.
I ride everyone's coattails on that.
yeah, me too. Trust me.
I can't figure out shit. Yeah. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, hope you know what you're doing. You just tell me what to do, and I'll do it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's how I play. It's so interesting that you can put out this thing, and then you can watch your audience, your customers go through your product, play it. How many times do you guys learn from them going through the game at all?
Oh, of course. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, whether it's, posts up on Reddit or, watching them live stream, stuff, I mean, that's the best research we can do is watching other players play. And, they always discover exploits and secrets, how to kill a boss in 2 seconds that we had no idea, that we didn't even know.
That's so crazy.
The first raid that came out with Destiny was called the Vault of Glass. And, there's this giant boss who's huge, who's really hard to beat. And within a fairly short amount of time, players figured out that they could basically throw grenades on the ground. And basically when the AI sees a grenade on the ground, it tries to avoid it. And so they basically were able to figure out how to get this giant monster to jump off the cliff to avoid the grenade. So basically players would go in, and this thing that was supposed to be this really hard, tough experience, they'd jump in and
they corral him off the cliff.
Yeah, and he would basically
and you realize fuck, we never even think about that. That's awesome.
I love when this stuff happens, though. It's cool because then the next expansion, that shit's gone. They're like, all right, you had fun for 5 minutes. Yeah. We caught you.
Start over, fuckers.
Yeah.
Can these raids be completed solo at all?
You know what? Like,
sometimes
we didn't think so. You know, like if you had asked us, like back in the day, like could you, solo some of this stuff? But at first it's really, really hard for 6 players to even beat. But now you've got people, totally soloing it. You can watch videos online of people who go in there and do it. But it's nuts. Like, just watching them, it takes such strategy and thought and like good, they're just so good at the game. They can do it themselves. It's pretty compelling to watch.
I saw some of the records for the speed run on, was it the Taken King raid, where like initially it was like 7 hours and now it's like 34 minutes. Like
there are people who they've played the raid so many times that they make up their own challenges. So there are guys who go in there and play blindfolded.
What?
So they can actually complete the raid.
And they still wait, and they
fuck them.
And they still complete it. They make it through.
Yeah. It's ridiculous.
Fuck?
They make up their own challenges.
Oh my god!
They know it so well, and they know like all of the content so well perfectly.
Holy crap!
As Rug Boy said, fuck those guys.
Fuck those guys.
Dude, it's so hard.
You
guys are doing that? I can't even.
Step outside, take a walk every now and then, huh? Come on, what are you doing?
After these messages, we'll be right back.
Hey, Imran.
Hey, Rug Boy.
Wouldn't it be great, since we're putting out all these great shows and great content, that our listeners could support us in some kind of way, maybe with a website or something?
You know what? I got an idea. Hang tight, I'll be right back. Jockey Nerd! All right, listener, we have a virtual tip jar.
Wowie zowie!
It's called Patreon. Visit jockandnerd.com/Patreon, and you can support the show and help us help you.
How you do that?
You can make monthly donations, whether it be $1, 50 cents, $5, or you can donate in one large sum and you get bonus content, and it only helps improve the show by getting us on better platforms and better equipment.
Jocktastic! I hear change jingling in your pocket. Don't fucking fuck me over, guys. Do it!
Hey, comic book fans, I'm Joe Stuber, producer and host of Comic Book Central, where each and every week I welcome a legendary talent to the Comic Book Central lair to talk about bringing comic books to life.
Greetings, true believers. This is Stan Lee.
When do you think the Academy is going to wise up and create a special Oscar category for Best Cameo?
I don't know. They're just asleep on their feet. Maybe your show, maybe this interview will be the turning point.
Hi, this is Jamie Alexander, the Asgardian warrior Sif from Thor. I went to Marvel. They said, hey, sit down, we want to talk to you about this part. So what happened was I had a knife in my purse. I set the purse on the chair and it fell off and the knife fell out. And then they were like, oh, God, you really are Lady Sif.
Ladies and gentlemen, I give you the one, the only, William Shatner. There's all these rumors out there that you're going to be in the next Star Trek film.
Would I like to be in it? I don't want to be a gratuitous character.
Like scrubbing the windows on the Enterprise or something?
There's a guy on the wing.
Chris Pine! There's a guy on the wing.
Chris Pine says there's a guy on the wing.
Catch the very latest episodes at the website, comicbookcentral.net. Subscribe to the show on iTunes, like it on Facebook, follow it on Twitter, and be sure to join me each and every week for Comic Book Central.
This is John Rhys Davis.
Hi, everyone. This is Summer Glau. Hi, this is Trisha Helfer, number 6 from Battlestar Galactica.
Hey, this is Dean Cain, Superman from Lois and Clark, and you're listening to Comic Book Central,
where comic books come to life.
Excelsior.
In an age of steam and gears, of monstrous machines and greedy corporations, in a world of automatons and dirigibles and faster-than-sound sky trains, in a time out of time where the Americas weathered multiple civil wars, where armies continue to watch from the brink of the next conflict, it is a reality where witches and ghouls live among thinking machines and walking machines that resemble humans. It's a role-playing game. It's a dramatic radio adventure. It's a comedy. It's the Steamrollers Adventure Podcast, available on iTunes or at rigstories.com.
Hey, what's up? It's Taylor Gray, the voice of Ezra Bridger on Star Wars Rebels, and you're listening to the Jock and Nerd Podcast.
Okay, we got, let's go another question by @HedgeMoney. He asks, our Guardians have been silent for a while now. Will they talk with other characters again in Rise of Iron?
I'm not sure. You mean, so like in the cinematics and stuff, is that, I wonder if that's what he means.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I mean, when a cinematic calls for it, like, when it's right for the players to talk, I think it's, and it helps make a better story. We do that. I think often that we want the players themselves to feel like their character. And so anytime you have your character in the game speaking for you, I think it breaks that illusion some. Yeah. So I think we generally want players to feel like they're the ones in the story. So we tend to not do a lot of talking, the player talking, but when it helps like communicate a particular, when it helps, tell a better story, we'll insert the player talking a little bit or responding to their ghost or whatnot. But generally we tend to let,
Because did Master Chief talk? Did he not talk for a long time?
Yeah, he barely talked. And it was the same philosophy there. Yeah. Like we wanted players to feel like you were the Master Chief, and anytime you hear the Master Chief talking, you're like, wait, I'm not saying that. And so you don't want to put words in a player's mouth. If you're in a cinematic and you feel a particular way about the character you're interacting with, just as a player on your couch, and you're like, that guy's a jerk, and we say, something, that completely breaks that illusion, that's like, different from how you're feeling, that takes you out of that character.
I like that. Yeah. Okay, I got another one from 0 Point. Look, you're getting a bonus question, dude.
Yeah.
Real quick, he says, each faction/vendor has a primarily color to represent themselves. Was this planned or just happened?
It was absolutely planned. Like one of the, we knew we had these different factions, these different agents in the game, and we wanted to create a different identity for them. And so, I mean, that was where some of the, graphic design background that, I was talking about earlier came into play. And we have some incredible, graphic designers at Bungie who have continued making some great, emblems and icons and graphic design and signage and stuff. But anyway, so that is a huge part of Destiny, is the graphic design of it, even just down to the, like I said, the stuff that's on the capes, or the stuff that, we release with the medals, or the, the different achievements and stuff. We've absolutely have tried to make, as cool of a graphic design presence in the game as possible. And so, we knew we had Future War Cult's one of them, New Monarchy, Dead Orbit, like they all had their own brand in the game. And so we thought about their iconography, we thought about their backstory, we thought about their history, what their characters were, what the colors, like all of that sort of, so that they all had their own kind of, history and story to them, and people would gravitate. We wanted people to gravitate towards one that, felt cool to them. And so you have, for example, the Dead Orbit are all about this anarchy, and like, they have a big, a skull in their logo, and they're all black and white, and they're sort of goth, and a lot of the guy from the character who represents them looks all emo and has long hair and talks in, a particular way. And then you have the, so anyway, the short answer to the question is yes. We thought about the colors.
No, we appreciate the in-depth answer, because if it would have just been yes, like, okay, moving on.
Yep,
dude. Let's talk about the guns for a second, dude. You've carried over from Halo is like just a satisfying shooting experience. And when people just hone in, like the gameplay videos I watch, this guy is all headshots, like all fucking headshots. It's amazing. But the gun is so satisfying. How much input did you have in the design of some of these weapons?
So we have a great sandbox team. That's the team we call that, like, works on all of the gameplay elements, like, the abilities that the characters have, and the the weapons and the grenades and all that stuff. So we have a great team that works on that stuff. They worked on Halo, for example. And so they're a great team, and they take that stuff very seriously. I try and help them come up with different themes for some of the weapons. And, when we talk about exotics are super fun. We tried to bring in Destiny, not just sort of generic, weapons that you'd find, if you went online or whatever, and, just sort of standard military weapons. We wanted to bring some fantasy into it. So you've got weapons that have weird, cool names that have history. So we wanted to take, in fantasy games, like, or fantasy worlds, you have, legendary, mythical weapons that have cool names and backstories and powers and have this history to them. And we really wanted to bring that into Destiny, because we knew we wanted to build a game where you wanted to collect stuff and collect new gear and new weapons. And so one of the ways you can make people actually care about that stuff is not just the gameplay, which is great, which is, a huge part of Destiny, but also bringing this secondary element of, how do they look cool? How do they have a backstory? Like, there are whole backstories about some of the weapons that we have this thing online called the Grimoire, which kind of goes into the whole history of, some of the history of the weapons. And there's, whole backstories to just one gun that players piece together.
There's
and
so much mythology to every piece. Yeah, what's the deal with the Gallarhorn? I don't know what that means. I'm just going to ask that.
What's the deal with it?
Yeah.
What's the deal with the Gallarhorn?
What's the deal with the Gallarhorn? It's like a Seinfeld bit. Yeah.
It has wolves. It has golden wolves.
It's awesome.
Emblazoned on the side of it, I guess, carved into the side of it.
Do you pronounce it Yallahorn?
Yeah. How do you say that even?
Yeah. You know what? That may be I don't know the official. I think most people just call it the Gallarhorn. They have a hard G there, but
unless you're an asshole.
The purists probably have different pronunciations.
Greg Tarnoff would be like, it's pronounced Yallahorn.
Greg Tarnoff on his fucking snowboard. Here's a real easy Twitter question from Scott Taylor. What's your favorite color?
Oh, no. Are you serious? Scott Taylor asked that?
Yes, he did. You know Scott Taylor?
Well, if it's the same Scott Taylor, I work with a Scott Taylor
at Too Scott Too Furious. Oh yeah, he's a Bungie producer and movie nut. Scott Taylor.
He's planting silly questions.
Oh dear. Well, Scott, I read your question. Do you want to answer? He knows. Why you shouldn't even have to answer.
No, but the audience wants to know.
Oh, that's right. That's a good question. What is your favorite color?
I want to know. Fuck.
Honestly,
I have some questions.
I know what it is.
After this, let's get to Rugboy
questions.
questions.
My favorite color is. I don't know if there's a proper name for it, but it's a dark grayish blue. I think would be my favorite color.
Okay, good answer.
I'll just say this: Rugboy should ask questions because Imran has been dominating this with questions, and he doesn't even fucking play the game.
That's why I ask people on the internet to send me questions.
Rugboy actually plays the game and can talk about it. So Rugboy, go ahead.
First of all, you have no idea how happy you made Scott by answering his troll question. Right now, as soon as he's here, this is going to be like, it worked! My plan to ask a silly question.
Curses! All right, Scott, that was for you. Here, you got one of these. Talking nerd! Okay, Ruggs, what do you got?
All right, well, I got a lot of questions. And I got this email from a guy I play with. And it's a long-ass email. I don't want to read the whole thing, but...
pick out the good parts.
Okay, I'm going to do that. But let me just do my questions first, and then we'll worry about the email later.
Okay.
So number one is, can you kind of like, for people who don't know what goes into making a game and all that stuff, like let's say you walked into work today and you had to work on Destiny. What does that entail? What's a day like as Chris Barrett art directing this whole shit? Like how does that go down?
I love that question because I wanted to know too. What's a day in the life?
It really depends on the stage of the game. So.
Like the worst stage, like when when your ass is like under the fire, like what?
When the game's got to be out yesterday and you're still fucking working on it.
So it tends to be I usually look at my calendar and I have like 12 conflicting meetings all scheduled at the same time in 3 different parts of the building, all about 3 completely different subjects. And so my day is filled with that, plus, a million emails, plus, there's always that aspect. So it's always, a little bit hectic when we're, trying to finish up a game. But at the same time, I'm meeting with all the game designers working on it, the artists looking at the stuff they're doing, trying to help them, any stuff that comes up that we need to, add to the game or change or whatever. That's a part of it.
Is it what you thought it was going to be? Do you think it was more managerial, or do you think that you would be, sometimes when you're our creative director, you're kind of away from things in a certain.
You
degree.
stop
You're
getting to
insulated.
do the fun part, which is create.
Yeah, well, you know what? I still get to be pretty hands-on with the creation of stuff. I mean, like down to the craft of the people who we have incredible people who, are making the individual weapon models and who are building the worlds. And, I actually, those guys do that way better than I could even now. People are so talented. The part where I get to be more hands-on and still, help in the creation process is really working with those different teams. Like I get to work with the story team. I get to work with the artists. I get to, help, in the initial inception of, for example, Rise of Iron, help come up with some of the themes of what we were gonna do for the release. And so
I feel like that would be very inspiring. Mm-hmm. Like, you walk in, you see these guys that are really talented. They're hungry. They want to make something great, and you're there. And you're seeing all this crazy shit come to fruition. I mean, that would inspire me every day to go to work.
It is. It's incredible. I get to collaborate with those guys. They have great ideas. We go back and forth with ideas. We iterate on it together. We're constantly playing the game together and just, going through and playing a mission and talking about it and talking about how we could make it better. And so there's a lot of there's a lot of playing the game. There's a lot of creative meetings where we're just brainstorming on a whiteboard. What would be the coolest story that we could tell? What would be a great weapon, that we want to introduce, for this release. So there's a lot of great creative collaboration. I mean, sure, I still have to do some PowerPoint presentations.
Boo!
Why? You know what? Those are actually I've gotten to enjoy some of the PowerPoint.
Oh, you like the PowerPoint? Oh boy!
I feel like if I had that job, I'd wake up with a boner and just have the entire day.
Well, look, Chris, I wanted to know, like with Rise of Iron, or even with the starting of Destiny, what comes first, like concept art, story, or like actual physical gameplay mechanics in terms of the development of the early stages?
It depends on each release. There's certain things sometimes that are a constant, like we may have a particular, race that we want to feature in that release, or we may have a particular theme that we know about. But generally, at least with Rise of Iron, we knew we wanted to expand on the story of the Iron Lords, and we knew we wanted to, have a new raid in the game. And so there were these certain constants, but a lot of it started with just jotting down some ideas, like coming up with a paragraph of inspirational, a little paragraph that kind of summed up an idea that sounded cool. And it started there, and then going from there to, a concept, working with one of the concept artists, just kind of creating an image that summed up the release. And so one of the first images we came up with was for Rise of Iron was Lord Saladin, who's an Iron Lord, standing at the front of this wall that was broken down with snow, and there's wolves in his tattered cape.
Yeah, we're looking. I'll have it in the show notes for the listener. We're looking at it, and it's like sci-fi Game of Thrones shit, dude. It's badass.
Yeah, it's awesome.
It's badass.
I have some questions that pertain to some of that. Number one is okay, you're talking about Rise of Iron. You see the wolves. This is the first time that we've seen animals.
Oh,
you know what I mean? You're roaming across all these planets and there's no animals. And now I'm so excited that there's animals. And if this is a prelude or something that's to come later on when Destiny 2 comes out, there's actual ecosystems and animals living and shit running around that you could kill. That'd be cool. But
there are birds. There are birds, and
I seen birds.
Oh, there's birds.
I seen the birds.
Are there wolves in Rise of Iron then?
There are wolves. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, I heard that they're going to be in the public sector, not in the missions. But I'll take that.
On Felwinter Peak, there are a few wolves kind of hanging out. Lord Saladin's buddies.
Will they influence? Are they part of the gameplay, or are they mission, or are they just kind of there as something pretty to look at?
We want to make sure, it was one of the ways we wanted to make the world feel more alive and add some, interesting, lore and story, and expand kind of the character of the Iron Lords. So you're probably not familiar with the Iron Banner sigil, but there's this giant flaming gong that this guy stands in front of.
That's right.
Giant flaming bong? That sounds awesome.
No, I think he said
giant
bong.
flaming bong. No, that's later.
That would also be good.
That would also be good.
Yeah, that would be cool.
That's my video game I'm making.
Flaming bong. So there's a giant flaming gong that has this carved Iron Banner sigil and like the emblem, the crest of the Iron Lords, and so it's got this tree growing in the middle, and then two wolves sort of opposed, and so that's been a symbol that's been in the game for a long time, and so we thought it would be cool to take that and like kind of create the elements that inspired that original crest. And so
awesome.
When you go to the Fellwinter Peak and you go to the Iron Temple, where the new social space of the game, you will see that tree. And you will see those wolves that are, inspired that original crest.
Damn, shit is
But
deep.
is there any plans to have any more animals, like not even in this incarnation, but maybe in future incarnation or anything like that? Or you can't say?
I mean, maybe we're always thinking about that. We want to make sure the world feels alive and feels like full of life, and we find new ways to add, interesting animations or interesting ambient life and stuff like that. So
now this is actual planets. Like this is Earth and Mars and Venus.
Yeah.
Like you haven't invented planets. You're using in the future, like way in the future.
There's some invented stuff for sure, but it's based on our solar system.
Yeah, they're all terraformed. Awesome. They're all terraformed planets, so they're not like barren and shit like you'd expect them to be.
There's this giant planet thing just hanging in the middle. What the fuck is that? That's the Traveler?
That's on Earth. That's the Traveler. That's
the shit is
Traveler.
That's like the god. It comes.
It's an entity. It's not a planet. It looks like a planet.
Damn it! I thought we were past the noob questions.
Sorry, it's awesome looking though.
Come on, dude.
It's just cool. Like in the gameplay when they look around and there's just this giant planet hanging in the sky. It's fucking awesome. Ruggs, let's get into the hardcore Destiny gamer question. Right, You're gonna have to take this one. So
all right, so shut the fuck up.
All right, hold on. Let me give you this.
Here's the rundown. All right. Okay.
Is that your custom intro?
That's his.
Yeah. Well,
that's his.
I got shitloads of them. If you've never heard the show, I'm pretty fucking funny. Wow, Zowie. Yeah. I got fans and shit.
Tell them do the spider shits real quick.
Oh, that's the one I took out for the questions.
Goddamn.
Sorry. You had to
asshole.
pick. We could do this one.
Who cares? A jock said that.
That's just for you, Anthony.
Thanks, you asshole.
You got basketballs?
Of course.
Really? Go play with some basketballs.
There you go.
Yeah, that's a drop that we use a lot. Okay, so as you know, I am a Destiny player. I've been playing it since it came out on Xbox 360, and then I actually had to buy another system so I could keep up with everybody because everybody's like, fuck Xbox 360, we're going to PlayStation 4. And so like I had to get a new system. But I've been playing. I'm a 320 player, and anyway, so when you play Destiny, you got to play with people. Like you can't really do everything by yourself. Like you can if you want to, but it's more fun when you play co-op and you play with friends and you can do the Crucible and all these missions with a buddy or two.
It's meant to be social gameplay.
So one of the guys that I play with, it's one of these guys that when you play with him, like he's so much better than you that you feel like shit when you're playing with him. And he has to carry me on every mission.
I know a lot of those people, yeah.
Yeah. So it's pretty bad. But anyway, so this guy, when he heard about this, he like jizzed in his pants and he wanted to talk to you personally. And I was trying to figure out a way to do this. But his name is Cypher X420.
That's like his gamer tag or whatever?
Yeah, that's his gamer tag. And he's on PS4 and he would love to talk to you, but he wasn't able to, so he gave me this long ass email, and I don't want to read the whole thing, but I'm just going to give you like the abridged version.
Thank you, first of all, Cypher X420 for taking the time to write that fucking long
That is like the perfect gamer tag, by the way. That is like the typical X420.
When he listens to this, he's going to rock a nice big boner.
Oh my god, he's going to be all. He's going to have to wipe himself up afterwards.
Is that Cypher with a Y or an I? Cypher.
It's with a Y.
With a Y.
With a Y.
Cypher with a Y.
Okay.
P-H-E-R.
It's SYPHER.
Oh, okay. All right. Cypher.
Okay. So anyway, this guy plays, I'm going to say like hours every day. Okay. He's got his 5-year-old kid playing it. It's crazy. So anyway, this is his email. He basically makes fun of me for sucking for the first part of it. And he's talking about how he went from one system to the other. and he was talking about bringing the Gjallarhorn back, and he's excited to get that back. But then he mentioned some other weapons that he'd like to see, like the Vex Mythoclast and the Icebreaker. So any chance of those happening?
So, yeah, it's funny. Yeah, we get that question a lot. Like, which weapons are going to come back? Can we bring back, the Fatebringer? Can we bring back, Thorn? Can we, whatever? Well, some people are like, please never bring back Thorn. But Thorn is for you guys who don't know, Thorn is a weapon that, was loved and hated.
I have it.
Yeah, yep. So yeah, I mean, as you'll see, we're bringing back some of the fan favorites with Rise of Iron. We've done that kind of with each release. So if there are ones that players love, there's a decent chance that some of them will come back in a future release.
So that's a kind of yes. Okay.
We're always looking at the right one. I mean, obviously, we always have to think about weapon balance and making sure, like, that some weapons are super powerful, and so we want to make sure that the game's still fun for everybody and balanced. So we're always looking at that. But if there's a fan favorite weapon that somebody loves, like, I would love to see Icebreaker back at some point, that kind of stuff. So
cool.
Yeah.
Okay, now he's been playing this since the beta.
Okay.
And he's talking about if there's any thoughts reliving or revitalizing the content from the beta, like having sliders with levels and being able to choose like your setup. Like when you're playing a game, can you choose the enemies that you fight? And if you want to add everybody in the all at the same time, like custom game modes where you can kind of customize the game that you're playing for that moment. Like the modifiers and all that stuff.
Yeah, so you could kind of create your own mission or something like that.
Yeah.
You know what? I think that would be that would be pretty fun. I think that I don't have any nothing in the works right now as far as.
So that's never been mentioned. So.
We always talk about like ways to evolve the game and future releases. We try and do new stuff. So for example, House of Wolves, which I worked on before, introduced this new mode that was this place called the Prison of Elders, and we had never done a mode like that before. So basically,
I love that, by the way.
Cool, yeah. So you go in and it's basically, it's randomized, like which enemies you're going to fight and which modifiers are going to be on, and different bosses, that you'll have to face. And so that was a level of sort of randomization and replayability that we wanted to play with. So, yeah, I mean, we add stuff like that, to the game all the time. So I wouldn't rule out, something where players could, have different enemies to fight or customize kind of what they're fighting against. But
that's not in the plans right now.
Yeah, I mean, usually with a lot of stuff we do, we try and sort of build it more into the fiction as well. So
it's got to be a reason for it.
Yeah, it's sort of like I can imagine, like coming up with. I mean, this is total conjecture. Please, no one, put this down on the list. Be added to the game, but if we were to do something like that, it would be cool to have it be part of some epic quest, and based on what things you do along the quest will change who you end up fighting in the final mission or something. You know what I mean? Or
that would be cool.
I mean, I'm just I'm
but totally story driven, basically.
Yeah, like in world, right? I mean, to kind of make it feel like it's part of the universe you're in. I think would be cool, as opposed to like necessarily like a UI fiddle, changing mission.
Yeah, like playing with
like that.
Checking boxes off or something like that.
Yeah, we do have. I mean, obviously, we have the ability to change the difficulty level of certain missions and stuff like that. But
which is also very cool, because if you want a little bit more of a challenge, you can go on super hard mode and give yourself a workout. Or if you're feeling like you're a big pussy that day, you go level 26. Okay, this is the second. I know you've heard this 1,000 times, Chris, but I got to ask it about the player matching and the teaming and in LFG. If there's going to be an in-game solution to that.
So here's the answer I give. Usually, I got asked this a lot at E3. We absolutely want to find ways for players to get together and easy ways to get players into groups and continuing to play together. So we're always looking at that. So certainly as Destiny evolves and we're adding new features, we'll be adding new stuff that allows players to do that. A lot of times it focuses on the raid, for example, and people wanting raid matchmaking. That's been a difficult thing. We've been talked a lot about internally at Bungie, and like when, is that the right thing to do for the raids? One of the things that the raids have is this, really tough puzzles that require communication and stuff like that. So we're always thinking about, would that be a good experience for players to, get dropped in with, other strangers to play a really intense mode like that. So we're always looking at that. We want to add new features that, I don't know if this, it's sort of an elusive answer at the same time as it is like, we're always adding new stuff, and we want to bring more players together, make it easier for players to get together.
I mean, that's one of the rereasons I don't really do that many raids, because,
you have to find 6 other people.
You kind of have to like do a little extra work because like I put my gamer tag out there for everybody, and I said, let's play, and no one ever wants to play.
It's definitely a tough balance. We're always looking at that and to see what the right features to add to the game is. You will see some stuff in there's a few things in Rise of Iron that we haven't announced yet that are going to be
exclusive.
I'm just saying we're always
come on, give us something.
There's some features that we'll be talking about in the coming months before Rise of Iron that I think are ways you'll see ways that we're trying to get more players together easier. So.
Cool. Now this is the last one from this particular from Cypher X420. I mean, he's got a lot more questions, but I'm skipping a couple of them. But this is something that when I first got Destiny, I thought that was going to be included. And I wouldn't say I was disappointed because I knew I was expecting too much, but I was like, if they could fucking do this, like,
is this the superhero thing again?
No, it's something with the ships. Can we do something with the ships besides having them as loading screens? Combat? Can you fly the ships down into Earth or onto Venus and shoot some shit up? Or that would be cool if we could use the ships, because the ships are awesome, but it'd be cool to actually pilot that thing.
I mean, I think that'd be great to add space combat, all that stuff. But for really us, it's about focus. Right? If we focus on that, then that means there's something else that we can't add to the game or whatever. So it's really about trying to find the stuff that players, is going to be most impactful to players. And then
was that ever on the table?
Oh, was that ever on the table? If you look at Halo Reach had a space combat, and if you remember that, so I think it's natural to imagine if you have a game with in space with spaceships,
But it's like a whole nother genre that you're now shoving into this game. Also,
yeah, I mean, we certainly wouldn't want to add something that makes it so it's a completely different type of game. We want to focus on what's great about Destiny, and it's shooting aliens in the face, and getting pants to drop out of them. So, but we're like I said, I mean, we're always looking at new stuff, right, and new stuff to add to the game and whatnot. And so maybe someday in the future that that would be that would make sense. But
the only way that would work is it was completely on rails and in a completely controlled environment where you wouldn't be able to sandbox it that way.
Yeah, I don't know how fun it would be to just fly around the solar system, realistically.
Yeah.
You have one mission where you have to be in your ship and you have to blow shit up, and that wouldn't be fun. That would be like a tease. So if you can't do it right, don't do it.
Or
we've heard that a lot. We've people we've got cool ships. People have always brought up wanting to be able to fly them around or shoot stuff in ships or space combat. So
I have a personal question: is how do you game? Okay, what do you play? Are you a Titan? Are you a Hunter? Are you a shotgun guy? Are you a sniper rifle guy? Are you using the fusion guns? What are you doing?
So, I mean, I have one of every class. I haven't been able to play as much lately as previously. So, I mainly have focused on my Warlock for now. And
Warlock?
Yeah, I like all the classes equally. I think seriously, just having sort of seen them along the whole way, they're all sort of my kids in some way. But so I play mostly a Warlock these days. But I want to get all 3 of my characters up to max level. I like. I like sniping. I will not claim to ever be a great Crucible player. I try and, as long as my KD is up above 1, I am happy. There are times that I am, I will go, get, 25 kills and get, 10-0, 10 10-1 KD or whatever, and I'm very happy. But then, the next game I'm, get 10, 20 deaths and, five kills or whatever. So
that sounds like what I do.
But, I'm kind of streaky, but I still have fun playing. I super, have a lot of fun playing. Luckily, one of the advantages of being a game director at Bungie is you get to meet a lot of the much better players than you at the game. So once in a while, I can get some of the famous streamers and stuff to take me to the lighthouse and whatnot, but they'll make fun of me as I'm playing and whatnot because they're happy if I get a kill, in a Trials of Osiris match. So I don't ever claim to be an incredible Destiny player, but I have fun. I have fun playing for sure.
I get made fun of all the time because I'm like the cheapest player.
Yeah.
Like I have to have a shotgun all the time. I always have to have the party crasher amped up. I always have, and then I get cheap with in Crucible sometimes with the fusion cannons. Yep. I got one that charges up really fast. I don't remember the name off the top of my head, but I'm a cheap player. I'm like a Titan.
Yep. And
I'm always rocking the auto rifles. I got a hard light. I'm using the shit out of that.
Uh-huh.
I love Arminus D. That gun's amazing.
Cool.
Yeah. So I'm a cheap ass player. I don't have any skill to what I do.
I think it's interesting that like Chris isn't good at his own game. Like is that common with like developers?
So you have to. I mean, like whatever. I can do all right, but I mean, compared to some of the players out there, like you can't compete with some of these.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, you put the thing out there, but you're not playing it for 80 hours a day, constantly and that's your only focus in life.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely, it's my number one game that I still play. I mean, I play other games and whatnot, but I mean, the majority of my playtime goes into playing Destiny, and I still play Crucible all the time. I play through, Strikes and the Raid and whatnot with, with people. I play with my dad all the time. He's like, he's 75.
Is he good?
Or what? You know what? He holds his own. Like he forever wouldn't go into the Crucible, but finally convinced him to go into, Iron Banner, and he'll get rank 5 in Iron Banner just through, grinding. He plays raids. He's got, I think he's, he does every bounty in the game on all 3 characters every day. And so his playtime, I think he's in the top 1% of playtime.
Wow.
For all players in Destiny.
I'm jealous that your dad plays your game. I don't think my dad's even acknowledged that I've done anything.
We don't talk on the phone. We just talk over party chat and play.
I think does he enjoy the social aspect too? Like, does he make friends? I think that's like one of the coolest things of this game.
I logged in one day and he had joined some random clan, like with like, he's got like in some clan with some like, 16-year-old kids from, Alabama or so, I'm like, who are these people, Dad? And he's like, I don't know. I met them online. They're okay.
That's awesome.
He's made all these friends and stuff in the game, which is cool. So,
you know what I do when I play with people I don't know? I tell them to listen to Jock and Nerd.
There you go.
Listen, all you gamers now, if you are listening to this episode, the next time you play Destiny, I just want you to do this. Jock and Nerd! Every couple of minutes.
That's the call to action right there.
That's the CTA, and then just tell them to visit the Jock and Nerd podcast. Chris, what can you tell us about what's next for Destiny after Rise of Iron? Will there be a 2?
I think there will be lots more Destiny to come for sure. So there is another game that we're working on. There hasn't been any official announcement, but we're definitely working on more Destiny. We're also trying to, something that is pretty unique to Destiny is, the game's a living world. And so we're always adding new events. And so last year we had a thing called Festival of the Lost, which happened around Halloween.
I love that.
Oh.
And so players could get all these masks from all the characters from the game, and they can go around going, trick or treating to the different vendors. And, so we add stuff like that all the time to the game just to kind of keep the game fresh. We also introduced last holiday, we introduced something called Sparrow League Racing. So I don't know if you've seen that.
I watched that video. It's awesome, dude. It's like pod racing meets something better. Because
it's something better.
Well, the speeders themselves are the amazing designs. It reminds me like the Return of the Jedi speeders a little bit, and the terrains are great. and it looks like a lot of fun. And I was watching like the gates, the boost gates, as you move up in rank, the gates get smaller.
Oh yeah,
and then you don't necessarily have to hit the gates to win. Very interesting. It looked like a lot of fun. I kind of wanted to play it.
So, I mean, we're always adding new stuff, and we want to, there'll be new events and new stuff coming out throughout the year.
Almost giving it like an esports spin there with the racing league.
Oh yeah.
Oh, here we go.
We got the sports tie-in finally.
There we go. It's Jock and Nerd. Ruggs, you got any more Destiny questions you want to get out?
Well, I got questions for Chris that are not Destiny.
Let's move on. That's what I want to know. Some of your personal projects, like what makes you excited on what do you work on the side? I noticed you have something called Oryx Design Lab.
Oh yeah, yep. Yeah, the story of Oryx Design. So I started dabbling. I'd always done like Rug Boy mentioned. I used to do a lot of like pixel art and stuff. Dabble in it back in the day, and so I hadn't done that for a long time. And so I started dabbling that a little bit, more a few years ago. And, I've always played classic games and I love the, old Nintendo games and whatnot. So I started dabbling and trying to make my own sprites. There's something, I'll get super in depth here about why it's so there's something really cool about sprites is that there's so few pixels that every pixel counts. It's like every pixel where you place it and the color it is and what it's next to, it really matters. Like it's not something you can do like really loose and sloppy, like painting, there's a perfection and to making pixel art and doing it well that I did terrible at first. Some of my first ones are awful, but just that practice of trying to, perfect the art of doing pixel art was really exciting to me. So, there was this contest. There was a site called TIG Source, and it's this site where indie game developers make and have a forum and talk about the indie games they're working on. And they ran this contest that was pretty cool. So the first month of this contest, the artists got to they built any art they wanted, any audio they wanted, any music, and they just built assets, right? For imagine you're gonna build a game, but they just built the art. And so then the next month programmers had to take only could use that art to make games. And so anyway, I built a whole bunch of sprites and, for this, this whole library of little fantasy creatures and whatnot. And I ended up winning that contest randomly. And so a whole bunch of games used that artwork. There's a game called, you have to be pretty nerdy. And there's a game called Realm of the Mad God that was an online game that was kind of like, sprite art. Yeah. But it was like an MMO kind of thing. So a bunch of these games use that artwork, and so I was like, hey, I could that was a lot of fun. I keep making these little sprite packs and stuff like that. So I started developing, just building this whole library of little fantasy creatures and animated monsters, and it's sort of relaxing just to
it must be. There's no wasted pixel, so this is kind of like in the terms of graphic design word, it's like reusable clip art for video game developers. For people who don't know, sprites are a little animated. They got a little jump, but they're a lot of fun. And you're right.
Wow.
You can't waste a pixel and there's so many of them, and you can sell them, make some money off them. Have you made any of your own games?
You know what I did? I worked with a couple people on a game. It's called Famaze, which is a combination of fantasy and maze.
Fantasy maze.
And it's it uses some of the artwork that I have up on my site, but it's kind of like there's a whole genre of games called roguelikes. I don't know if you're familiar with that term, but basically it's kind of procedural dungeons is kind of the theme, and you have one life usually when you play, but it's this whole genre of games. But anyway, so I worked on a game called Famaze. It's up on Steam.
Famaze.
You can check it out.
Nice.
It's free. It's free for everybody. You can get a link to it on my site, or if you just type in Famaze on Steam. But it's basically got cute little characters that go through the procedural dungeons, and you have to go. Basically, you go through a maze, and there's monsters you have to kill, and there's treasure chests and potions. And actually, one of the coolest things is I had the luck of working with this guy. His name's Disaster Piece.
Okay.
And That's his online handle.
Nice.
But he does music. He did music for Fez, which is a really popular game.
Oh yeah, that's a great game.
And he's done a bunch of these incredible indie soundtracks. He also recently did. He worked on the soundtrack for a movie. You guys have probably seen it. It's this movie that's kind of this thing keeps. It was a horror movie recently that came out that this thing keeps stalking you forever. Yeah, it follows. Right. I don't know if you remember the music or the soundtrack from that, but it was kind of this like 80s horror kind of inspired soundtrack. It's incredible.
Right. I heard that movie's really good, and so he did the music for Famaze.
Yeah, he did. I got and it's kind of like a old school Super Nintendo RPG style music to it, which is awesome.
Which is perfect because I love the retro look of these your pixel games. Like it's just like it's Zelda. It's the top scrolling Zelda, move from room to room, shoot shit, find shit. It's so much fun.
Yeah, so you can check. There's I did worked on a couple different roguelike games and so they're up on my site. You can check them out, but they're all they're all free to download and whatnot.
Now, why did you use the name Oryx?
That's a Twitter handle, isn't it?
The true history. So Oryx was my I guess it was Warhammer Online, which was a MMO that was out a while back based on the Warhammer. From Games Workshop, but they did an MMO, and one of my characters was named Oryx, which was
no way.
Yeah, so which was actually good. Took it from a book, Oryx and Crake, by Margaret Atwood, and so I was reading that. I think before that and loved that book. So that is the origin of the word Oryx.
Isn't there a character named Oryx in Destiny also?
There is. That may or may not be a coincidence.
May or may not.
Yeah, that's why I was excited about that, Imran. If you would have known anything about the game.
I knew that there was a character that was tied to your... Well, look, this has been... this is really good. These questions keep coming in, man. It's crazy. But I think... Look, listener, if we didn't get to your question, I apologize. Thank you guys for sending in... the question.
I have a question.
Maybe.
And let's end with a Rug Boy question. Someone that actually plays the game on this show.
Okay. We talked about video games. We talked about all that stuff. Now let's talk about you as a person. We all geek out about stuff. Mm-hmm. All right. When you come home from a day at Bungie, crunching away at the game, what do you do? What do you watch? Do you watch Game of Thrones? Like, what books do you read? Do you have anything that you can recommend to people that you've picked up on? Like, you obviously work with a lot of creative people. You probably get shit from all over the place. So,
oh boy, yeah. I didn't prepare for this quite. Let's see. Like, what can I recommend?
So, what are you geeking out about?
Yeah, what are you
now?
geeking about?
Yeah.
Geeking out about?
Boy, I obviously love all the the TV show. Mr. Robot's coming out.
Oh, Mr. Robot! The second season.
They just released the. They did this whole pretend viral thing online that they someone hacked it and they released it on Twitter and on stuff, which is pretty funny. So the first episode.
This is the first time a TV show they've released their whole first episode on Twitter. And then I think the first broadcast episode is actually after that episode, or I wonder if they're going to replay that again.
I think they're probably going to replay the same one, but they leaked it early. And
that's crazy. You can watch a whole show on Twitter.
That's amazing.
I don't know who would do that, but I kind of want to watch that now.
I want to wait till it's on the TV. I didn't want to try and watch it on my iPhone or whatever. But that's cool. Obviously, Game of Thrones it's awesome. That was a great season. Recently that was super fun. What else? I don't know. I mean, I'm always looking at what new Steam games come out. I'm trying to think.
You still game a lot in your personal life besides the stuff
I do. Yeah, I mean, I try and play. Whatever new games come out on on the consoles and whatnot. Try and run through those.
Are you Pokemon Going it right now?
No. I downloaded it. I downloaded it.
Oh my God!
There was a Pokemon on my coffee table. Yeah, I captured it. I was like, all right, that's enough of that. I do not need to.
Can I tell you? I played that game for a hot second. It was fun, and then I saw
you fuck.
Look, no, I saw that it needed full access to my Google account. I was like, oh, fuck that. I revoked it and I deleted it, but I did have fun. I may create a burner Gmail account to play it again. Because look, the magic of this game, like we're gonna have to talk about this on the show because this game has just swept everyone's imagination.
I'm not doing it. Fuck it,
Chris. What do you think about like this
care.
kind of gaming? This kind of game.
I think it's great that there are a lot of different kind of games out there, and that people like all kinds of different games. Yeah,
nice answer. Very political.
Not for him though. Yeah, dude, it's crazy. Any day now, I'm expecting the first Pokemon Go fatality story. Any minute, it's gonna happen.
I don't.
You know what? If I didn't really get into Pokemon as a kid or anything.
Yeah,
So I think I was too old for it, honestly.
Yeah,
so,
I don't more of a Magic the Gathering kind of guy.
I don't think it's your guys' generation. It's my generation. Like all the people that grew up on it now are playing it as adults right now.
Yeah, exactly.
I got grown ass men posting this shit on their Facebook. I'm like, dude, what are you doing? You just should be teased. People are getting mugged. Oh, it's fantastic.
It's the worst when you're driving. I was driving this weekend and I had someone in the back seat go, stop. And I'm like, why am I stopping? And they're like, there's a Magikarp over there. I'm like, oh my God. You need to get out of my car.
What the fuck is a Mewtwo? Oh, go fuck yourself with the Pokemon Go. Chris, look, let's end with this question for someone out there.
Is it going to be an obvious question, Ian?
No, it's going to be a good one. What is a controller? No, if for someone out there who, I know it's different now. Someone out there is listening, maybe wants to get into video games, maybe has a similar, 2D character concept design background. How do you break into the industry these days? Is it the
He's
same?
He's asking for himself right now. I think.
I'm asking for a friend. Question. And how's your 401k over there? Now, how is what would you recommend to someone who wants to break into games now?
Wow, there are a lot of different ways, right? I mean, there's first of all, like think about what you want to do in games, right? So, there isn't just a game developer job, right? I mean, so even within the studio, we have musicians. So if you're really into music, think about going into, learning about music, going to school for music, learn about editing and sound of, there's a whole, there's that whole side of it. There's, obviously concept art and, you're going to want to, do as much drawing and figure drawing and art as you can. There's engineering, which is all about, learning how to code and building. So a foundation of learning those crafts and learning about those disciplines is huge. So obviously there's also a lot of schools now that cater just to game development. And so look up those they have great programs now that are all about just making games and whatnot. But there are a lot of different ways. Like there's a lot of people at Bungie, for example, who me included, who built mods, right? And so they take their favorite game that they love and they make mods for them. One of the guys that is a designer at Bungie worked on Skyrim mods. And that's how he got his start into gaming. And so he's, at Bungie now. So there's a lot of different ways. Like most importantly is, whatever you love to do, if you just love playing games and that's it, you can also, we have testers who, there's a whole technical side of it. They have to be really diligent. They have to play the game way more than anyone would want to play the game and try and break the game all the time. But that's another way that players, people at Bungie get into gaming is,
Yeah, people. I guess you forget all the different roles. There's voiceover, acting. Like if you're an actor,
we have producers who just do help. It's like all about scheduling and production, and there's a whole background in that. You have you have gameplay designers. You have people who just build the world. You have people who just focus on animation, and so there's all these different disciplines. Figure out something that you love about games and focus on that. Learn those crafts,
or make the shit yourself and put it out there and hopefully catch someone's attention.
Yes, there's a lot of people who just make their own games too. They learn how to code. They learn how to do art, whatnot. Join a team. There's a lot of teams online of people who are looking to create games, and so you can go on forums and there's a lot of places where you can join a team and they're looking for artists and they're looking for or a programmer or whatever. And it doesn't have to be the biggest incredible game in the world, but just that experience of building something and working with other people and learning how games are made is always even if you're going to school for illustration on the side, if you're doing some of those projects and learning how that stuff works and how games are made, that's only going to help. So
you think it's easier now than 16 years ago or whatever when you started?
I think it's different. Like, I think it may have been easier back then to get in, like, because, like, for example, I got in without doing 3D and, whatnot. And I came in doing, graphic design and illustration. So, it may have been easier back then to kind of get your foot in the door because it was a smaller industry. But now there's way more paths to like actually learn the craft and the trade and, go to, there weren't game schools back when I was
no, they weren't teaching us web design or anything fucking useful. And with that, we're going to wrap it up. Chris, man, thank you so much. I think you gave a lot for the gamers to digest. I feel like awesome. You seem to have touched a lot of questions that we didn't even ask that were asked on the Twitter. So that was great. Where can people find you? I'm sure they're going to have further follow-up questions online if they wanted to ask you some or say hi and how much they love the game.
Sure. Like you mentioned my website, oryxdesignlab.com. I'm on Twitter. Obviously, CG Barrett is my Twitter. And obviously, in game, you can, you may see me roaming around the tower once in a while.
Ooh, he's in the game, people. So. That's awesome. Ruggs, where can the people find you?
You can find me on Twitter saying how much Dan Slott sucks. At Really Rug Boy on the Twitters, motherfucker.
Listen, if you tweet out Dan Slott sucks, Rug Boy will retweet it. We can guarantee you'll get a retweet from Rug Boy. This was awesome, dude. It was great to catch up with Chris. Listener, I hope you enjoyed this. Thank you for
we got a lot of new ones, though, so we should just say that if you want to contact us, go to jockandnerd.com/contact, and if you liked what you heard, jockandnerd.com/review.
You want to subscribe to the show because then we're going to have a lot more geeky fun. You get it automatically, comes right to your device or your computer. New listeners, definitely just visit jockandnerd.com.
We got live shows too.
We got live shows as long as Blab is still running, and when that dies, we'll find someplace else to do. We'll go to Twitch. Maybe we will invade the Twitch. It's got a huge audience. I don't know that those gamers are going to give a fuck about what we talk about, though.
Blab people don't give a fuck.
But that didn't stop us.
But there's people that listen to our show that don't realize we were even a podcast.
Yes, and there's people who are trying to get us sponsorships with big name companies via Twitter. God bless them.
I bet there's a lot of jocks and nerds on Twitch. You'd be surprised.
Oh, all right. We might have to take it over there. It is a big platform.
You know what? Hey, you can watch people eat on Twitch now. Did you know they have a social eating channel?
There's a whole channel of just people eating.
Watch people eat, and you can also watch people paint. They have a creative channel. So
it's kind of branching out. Then they're doing a little Bob Ross type of programming. That's good.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
All right, we will have to investigate. In the meantime, you can find us at jockandnerd.com. Finally, before we go, if you guys like what you hear, we just like to tell you how to spread the word. Just tell a friend. Find another gamer who doesn't listen to the show and is into Destiny and share the show with them. Right, Ruggs?
Yeah, that's what I do when I'm playing Destiny. I go to the Jock and Nerd, you fuck. You suck at Destiny.
And now, next time, you could be like, oh, go listen to this. We got Chris Barrett on.
Yeah, I'm going to do that.
All right, gang, thanks for listening. This is the Jock and Nerd Podcast. My name is Imran.
My name's Anthony.
He's the Jock.
He's the Nerd.
And we'll catch you next time.
Hey, great job, Chris.
That was a lot of fun. Christopher, what we do now is we just kind of keep recording a little bit, shoot the shit. This goes up as bonus content on the Patreon if it's good. So, listener, we're going to put a pin in it for you here. Go support us on Patreon, jockandnerd.com/Patreon for bonus content.